What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're back, another Impact review. Turning Point 2020 is in the books. We move on to 2021, we move on to Hard to Kill. But I think we may have Final Resolution as another Impact Plus special in between. Either way, we're moving forward to bigger shows, and Impact I don't know what they're doing really. They're just changing titles left, right and centre for no apparent reason. And I like it, though the matches are good, but I just don't like the devaluation of all these titles. Also, quick announcement, if you missed it, I just tweeted saying that I've got a schedule now. I'm going to look to upload at least 4 videos a week. Monday, I'll have a rant video. Tuesday, a list video. Wednesday, Thursday are Impact and AEW reviews. And then if there's a show at the weekend, I'll do reviews of them. I'll talk, maybe interview stuff. That'll all be coming out on those days. But Monday through Thursday, locking it in. Schedule 4 videos a week at least going forward. But for now, let's just start with the review. And Turning Point opened with Eddie Edwards and Shawn Daivari in a fun match. I enjoyed it. The match opened with, a lot of back and forth, a lot of like hold for hold, strike for strike, usual. No one was really able to get an advantage over the other until Eddie Edwards came running in for a shoulder tackle on Daivari in the corner, who moved out the way, and Eddie Edwards just went into the post and out to the floor. Daivari then just worked the shoulder for a lot of the rest of the match, just proving that he is one of the better wrestlers out there. It's a big steal for Impact to get. Kept going after the shoulder. Eventually, Daivari went for a roll-up and put both his feet on the middle rope, which the ref saw. And Daivari argued with the ref, and then he just got hit with the Boston Knee Party out of nowhere in around about 9-10 minutes, and Eddie Edwards picked up the win. It was a fun match, I enjoyed it. I would have liked to have seen them gone for like 15-20. Mainly just because I really like Daivari, and I want to see him do more, but nothing really I can do. It was a good match, it was a fun match, and Eddie gets a win over a very serious Daivari, who hopefully will have a good run in Impact going forward. We then returned to the ring, and Caleb with a K was there, ready to introduce Tenille Dashwood. Then out came Jordynne Grace, and they were teaming to take on Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. And this match was fun. I really liked it. Opened with Tenille and Rosemary. Tenille went to take some photos, and Rosemary just crept up behind her, started attacking her over into the ropes. Tenille got on the ropes, and Rosemary just kept going after her. They were on Tenille and Jordynne's side. Jordynne didn't run over to help her tag partner, and that was the first little clue that maybe they're not going to get on so well. Eventually, following that, Tenille tagged out to Jordynne, and Rosemary tagged out to Taya, and the two bigger competitors from the other team. I went at it, just a little hoss off. It was good fun, and there was some cooperation between Tenille and Jordynne, but wasn't as good as Rosemary and Taya's. After a lot of back and forth, Rosemary and Taya did sort of their grasp on it slipped a little bit as Jordynne Grace had a massive comeback, was thrown back into her corner, and Tenille tagged in without her realising, and she hit a spine buster on Taya and pinned her for about 5. But Tenille was obviously a legal woman. Jordynne got out, went in to pin her, kick out at 2. After a little bit more gabbing between the two of them, a little bit more arguing, Jordynne was back in the ring, went to tag out, and Tenille just jumped off the apron to take some photos, and was just beat down by Rosemary and Taya. And Rosemary picked up the win over Jordynne Grace in a fun match. And Tenille and Caleb with a K just made a run for the back, as they probably should. The Dieners were backstage then as Cousin Jake found Cody, and he was all, Cody, I've got an opportunity. And Cody's looking pissed, and he's like, do you? Well, I'm annoyed. You're my cousin, you meant to have my back. But when I'm wrestling Johnny Swinger and he hits me with a fanny pack loaded with a weapon, you don't have my back and I'll lose the match. And they're pissed off and they go, you know what, let's look for Swinger. Let's find him. And then they walk off to find Johnny Swinger. Up next, Brian Myers was wrestling Swoggle in a really fun match, actually. I kind of expected this match to be over and done with quite quickly. Right at the start, Swoggle hit a head scissors and a suicide dive, and really actually started taking it to Myers, dragging him back into the ring. But Myers, being about 2 feet taller than him, obviously, regained his advantage. They went back and forth for quite a while. Swoggle got a near fall with a tadpole splash at one point. But in the end, after some fun back and forth, Brian Myers was too much for Swoggle to handle and put him away with a brutal looking sort of clothesline elbow sort of move. And it was a really fun match. There's not much to report back on other than that Swoggle actually kind of impressed me in this. Oh, he did hit a German suplex on Myers at one point, which I found really fun. One of the weaker matches on the card for sure, but definitely a fun match that you can sort of just switch your brain off and enjoy. Triple XL were backstage being interviewed by Gia after this, and they said, look, James Storm, Beer Money, great. Chris Sabin, Motorcycle Machine Guns, great. They're tag team legends in this company. But they're no Triple XL. They're not even a team. So when we go out there, we're going to beat them, and we're going to prove that we are the best team in this company. And then that was up next, Triple XL versus the Beer Guns, as they called themselves. This match was really good. Right at the start, opened up with Larry D and Chris Sabin. Sabin hit the ropes, shoulder tackle, does nothing. Goes again, does nothing. Goes a third time, just starts hulking up, hits the ropes, drop kick to Larry D's knees, and just breaks him down. That was obviously going to be the tactic for a lot of this match. Sabin has to be quicker, Storm has to be smarter, and Triple XL just need to be the biggest men in the ring, which they are. Sabin and Storm work really well together with a lot of very good tag moves that are part Motorcycle Machine Guns, part Beer Money. So a lot of the signature moves that both teams used, they combined in weird ways, which I thought was really cool. Eventually, Triple XL were able to take control by just beating down Chris Sabin at one point. AC Romero just sat on his back, which didn't look fun. As Sabin was beginning to make his comeback and crawl over, AC grabbed his leg and he went to just jump and sit on him, and Sabin turned around, put his knees up, and AC crouched himself on both his knees. Eventually, Sabin was able to tag out to Storm, who just came in with a head of steam and just took it to both the big men. Then there was a nice wee fun spot where they both members of Triple XL were on the outside, and James Storm ran at Chris Sabin, who just flipped him up and over, and then he ran to the other side and hit a plancha onto AC, I believe. The Beer Guns, kept it up with their high intensity, and eventually at one point, James Storm pointed at the camera and was all, you all know what to do. And they did the whole, beer! And then Chris Sabin just goes, guns! Yeah, that doesn't work. We'll go with it. Which I really enjoyed. Obviously, a riff on the Beer Money thing. Eventually then, though, the Beer Guns were actually able to pick up the win in a very hard-fought contest. And as much as I love the Motorcycle Machine Guns, put them in a trio. Put James Storm in there with them. I love James Storm. This match was really fun. Obviously, it sucks for me being a Motorcycle Machine Guns fan that Alex Shelley's not involved, but I grew up on the Motorcycle Machine Guns and Beer Money, so this was really cool for me as a fan. The Diener search for Johnny Swinger was up next as they're running through the backstage area looking for Swinger. They're opening doors, they're looking round corners, and then Gia runs away screaming at someone and calling him a creep, and then they go, yep, that's Swinger. So they follow him as he goes into the bathroom, and they see his fanny pack, which they pick up. Obviously last week he used that to knock out Cody Diener and pick up a win. And they look inside it, and there's a gun. So is Johnny Swinger the man who shot Johnny Bravo? It looks like it. After that, then back to the ring for the Defeat Rohit Challenge. Rohit came out, grabbed the mic and said, the Defeat Rohit Challenge is back, and it's open to anyone but TJP. And out comes Big Cousin Jake. And this was maybe match of the night. A match I obviously knew was going to be good. Rohit's great. Cousin Jake, great. But they did quite a few things that were brilliant here. First of all, both Dieners looked a little bit distracted because they've now found out that Johnny Swinger probably shot Johnny Bravo. But it wasn't enough to deter to make Cousin Jake look like he was off his game. Only Cody on the outside. One thing about Cousin Jake is he moves freakishly quick for a big man and fit right in for the X Division title, having this match with Rohit. Rohit then just kept outsmarting him and being more cunning and more vicious and more just evil, pretty much, being a wee dick. And Cousin Jake was brilliant. There was one fantastic spot towards the end where Jake was in the corner and he was sort of down, like halfway down to sit, and he was sort of like crouching in the corner, and Rohit went for a cannonball and he just gets caught. Jake brings him into the ring, picks him up for a massive powerbomb. Only for two though. Towards the end, Rohit came off the top and Jake ducked. And as Jake ran in, just a big jumping knee, hit the ropes, one more knee, and Rohit was able to retain the X Division Championship. And the more I see of Rohit, the more I'm on board with this title reign. I thought it was dumb to take it off Chris Bay. And it was dumb that he made it through Bound for Glory with the title. But this match just proved that he is so much better than I gave him credit for. And I like where he's going, and I like what he's doing. And I just hope they use this as an opportunity to really build up Rohit. And whenever someone beats him, it's going to feel huge. I hope it's not like... I feel like this was the perfect match for this, if this makes sense. Having him beat Cousin Jake relatively clean in a brilliant match, instead of, oh, I've kicked TJP in the balls, or oh, I've thrown someone out after they've hit their finish and I've pinned the other guy. Like, he needs strong victories over strong opponents, and someone like Cousin Jake can take a loss to Rohit. And I thought this match was fantastic, and I'm finally coming around on Rohit as X Division champion. After the match then, Eric Young came out, flanked by a big cowboy, big man in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. He got in the ring and took his cowboy hat off, and it was Joe Doring, a man I wasn't entirely familiar with. I knew the name, and then Josh Matthews said he was a former Triple Crown heavyweight champion in All Japan, and I looked into it. He's one of 5 Gaijin to hold that championship. The other 4 are Terry Gordy, Stan Hansen, Big Van Vader, and Dr. Death Steve Williams. Very illustrious company. I think he's also held the tag titles with Kenta Kobashi. He's a 4-time tag champ as well, and a 2-time Triple Crown heavyweight champ out in All Japan, including tag title runs with Kenta Kobashi and Sanada, I believe. But yeah, Eric Young got in the ring with Joe Doring, and they just annihilated the Deaners. And I'm excited. I'm excited for this, man. I won't lie. Eric Young needed that next something after losing to Rich Swann. And putting him with a big man like Joe Doring yeah, brilliant. The Good Brothers were backstage being interviewed by Gia, and they said, look, the North, you're great, but you're not as good as us. And the Impact Tag titles are the one title that has eluded us for our entire career. You may have held it for the longest time. You may be brilliant, you may be 2-time champs, but we will win tonight to prove that we're the best tag team in the world. If Rohit and Cousin Jake wasn't match of the night, then this most definitely was. Moose versus Willie Mack. 2 of the best big men in pro wrestling. I put big men in like quote marks there because they don't wrestle like it. Like, Willie Mack is this behemoth of a man hitting standing moonsaults. He's got a game very similar to Keith Lee. And the comparisons aren't just, oh, it's a black man with a funky singing voice who sings a lot and is really funny, but is also one of the most intense and athletic competitors out there. Just in general, out with those comparisons that people will inevitably make just because people are fucking idiots. They do have a very similar game and a very similar wrestling style, and I love Willie Mack. And Moose as well is one of the best in the world. And this match was fantastic. Right from the start, Moose went right to grab Willie Mack's throat to choke him out, but Willie just fought him off. And the pair of them had a fantastic opening start to the match. There were a little stumble. Willie was at the ropes, and Moose ran at him, and he went to duck under for Moose to go over the top, but I think Moose thought he was going to sidestep him and send him through the middle rope, so he ducked under, but Moose still went to the middle rope, and it was kind of awkward. Right after that, though, Willie hit the ropes to go for a suicide dive, and Moose just hopped up like he was Bobby Lashley back in 2006 onto the apron like it was nothing. And then Willie just happened with a big enziguri as he stood there looking at him. It was great. The match was a fantastic display of everything both men can do, athletically, technically, with like their brawling, with their psychology, their storytelling, everything. It was the perfect match for both men and the perfect story for this perfect match. Towards the end, though, Moose was able to hit the spear, and instead of going for the pin, just attacked Willie, and Willie was not defending himself. So the ref called it off and declared Moose the winner. But then after he stood up and got his hand raised, Moose went right back down and just more elbows onto Willie Mack's head, and the ref reversed the decision, and Willie Mack was declared the winner by disqualification. I actually like this. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying it was an overbooked finish. I like this because Moose is trying to send a message that he doesn't care about getting the winner's purse. All he cares about is controlling his narrative and sending that message to Rich Swann. Up next was a tag team title match between the Good Brothers and the North, and this match was incredible. if I'm being honest. I don't know what else you would expect. Just two of the best tag teams in the world on top of their game. I'm not really going to speak too much about the match and the spots in the match because it was just very solid, back and forth, technically sound, psychologically perfect tag team wrestling from literally two of the best teams in the world. You know, a lot of back and forth, a lot of quick tags in and out, quick changes, and not a lot of shenanigans from the North, surprisingly. Obviously, we're still being dicks and still, you know, a little bit of shenanigans and a little bit of bending the rules, but not to the extent you'd expect. Right at the end, though, Carl Anderson was able to hit a comeback with a big ol' spinebuster on Ethan Page, then a gun stun on Josh Alexander, tagged out to the big LG, and the Magic Killer on Ethan Page for the win, and the Good Brothers are now the new Impact Tag Team Champions. This move, though, I don't know. I understand that Alex Shelley got hurt and you want to put the titles on the Good Brothers, and I understand that having them do it in the 4-way without Alex Shelley may have cheapened it a bit, but it's just a hot shot on the belt. I understand that Ethan Page is probably on his way out of the company, but that's weird. Don't know how I feel about it. I like that the Good Brothers are champs, but I don't know how much I like the hot shotting of the titles. Jordan Grace then is backstage banging on Tenille Dashwood's locker room door, screaming to find her, and Tenille and Kelly with a case sneak up behind her. She's like, what was that? You jumped off the apron when I was trying to tag out. We lost the match. And then Tenille just sort of, they have a little argument, and then Tenille walks away. And over walks Alicia Edwards, who teamed with Jordan Grace a couple of weeks ago, and she's been a little joke. She was like, yep, no, she's not a team player. And then Tenille goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So why don't we be tag team partners? So now Alicia and Tenille are tag partners. This is a weird segment. It didn't feel entirely natural, but whatever, it's cool. I just didn't really like it. Although I do like the team of Alicia and Tenille. The Knockouts title was defended next in the semi-main event in the no disqualification match between Deonna Purrazzo and Su Yung. Deonna tried to jump Su before the bell, and just from then it was just total violence, like chairs being thrown at each other. Just at one point a noose was brought into it, but we'll get to that. At one point very early on, Deonna has Su in the ring and she's on the ground and she's got her foot on her ankle and then she's like stretching her legs apart. And as she's doing this, Su just puts on the bloodstained glove and starts reaching up trying to grab the mandible claw. Deonna sets a chair up, like vertically, in the ropes, and then Su runs at it but stops herself. Then does a little tarantula walk-up thing, puts her legs back here, tries to hit Scissor Deonna into it, but she's able to fight out before she is sent into the chair. Like I said, at one point Su Yung just brought out a noose and started like choking Deonna with it, but not with the noose end of it, just the actual slack of the rope. Later on as well, Deonna then did eventually go through that chair that she'd set up in the corner in between the ropes. And just she ran at it so fast, it looked horrible. Shortly after that was a pedigree on the stage from Su Yung. She rolled Deonna back into the ring, as Madison Rain was saying. I spoke to Deonna today, and she said, short of dragging me to the undead realm, there's nothing she can do to beat me. And she was able to kick out from that pedigree that did look quite nasty. One thing I forgot to mention is earlier on in the match, Deonna had went under the ring looking for weapons and pulled out a canvas. And after the pedigree, Su went for the mist, but it was blocked with the canvas, and she just burst the canvas across Su's head, which I thought was great. Deonna then just ramps up the intensity and wraps a chair around Su's head and locks in the Venus de Milo with both arms and just starts kicking the chair that is wrapped around Su's head. Su doesn't tap out, but she does pass out, and the ref grabs her hand. 1, 2, you know what's coming, it's pro wrestling. 3, Su gets up like a bat out of hell and just goes right after Deonna. As soon as she gets up though, Deonna comes off the second rope and just gets hit with a mandible claw out of midair and dragged the whole way across to the other corner on the other side of the ring. And then Su grabs the noose again, wraps it round Deonna's neck properly this time, and just gets up on to the top rope, sitting there trying to pull her up, and Deonna scrambling. She does grab her and just throws her off, and as she comes back in, just hits a snap gotch pile driver, which looked very nasty, and picked up the win and is once again the Knockouts champion. Once again, another hot shot title. If this match had ended with the Venus de Milo and the chair, I wouldn't care, but I don't know. It's a good match though, it was a really good match. Just got to stop devaluing the belts. Please, for the love of God. The bracket was then announced for the Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament, and I will read you out all the teams. So we've got Tennille Dashwood and Alicia Edwards will be wrestling Havoc and Nevaeh. Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle, a team I'm excited to watch, will be wrestling Jordan Grace and a partner that is yet to be announced. Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz will wrestle Sea Stars, who are a very good independent tag team, and Deonna Purrazzo and Kimber Lee will be wrestling Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. That'll be fun. And after the announcement of the Knockouts Tag Title Tournament bracket, we got the main event. There was a big video package describing the history of Rich Swann and Sami Callihan and Impact before the match. And they've been through a lot together. The match itself was good, was very good. Sami Callihan, it was more of a Sami Callihan match than it was a Rich Swann match, which I appreciated. Callihan was able to neutralise Swann's speed very early on, and at one point Swann sort of faltered and stumbled and sold the leg, which Callihan immediately went after with just the viciousness that he does. It was, like I say, very good back and forth match, more of a Sami Callihan match than a Rich Swann match. In the middle of it though, at one point the Sami Callihan just pile driver Rich Swann on the apron, and they spilled out to the outside. And then he went to whip him back into the ring, and Swann just handspringed up onto the apron, flipped back and hit that handspring cutter, that lethal injection type move. Right towards the end though, Ken Shamrock ran out, as did Eddie Edwards to fend them off. Callihan sort of looked like he was going to pick it up, but then Swann just countered him and hit him with like 5 or 6 really brutal looking kicks in a row, and was able to retain the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. That was Turning Point 2020. Overall, a very good show, I thought. They shouldn't have swapped the title back onto Deonna, I don't think. The North and the Good Brothers I get. I just think they're hot shot in the titles too much. Overall, it was a good show. I would have liked to have seen more time go to Eddie Edwards and Sean Daivari, personally. Maybe took a couple of minutes off of Myers and Swoggle and a couple of minutes off the main event. Wouldn't really have missed it. But I thought it was a really good show, and I'm excited to see what's going forward, especially with the Johnny Swinger stuff, with Deonna with the tag titles, the Knockouts tag titles, the X Division. It's a very good show to set the company up for the future. So that's it for today's video. Oh, never gave it a score. I would give Turning Point an 8. Could have been a 9 if they didn't change the titles and do weird stuff like that. But overall, I do think Turning Point was a very good show, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment for ideas for lists and rant videos that I can make with the new schedule, which I will be sticking to, because if I don't, I have to publicly compliment Ryan118. I don't want to do that. I'm joking, he's a good guy. But I will tweet nice things about him every time I miss an upload, that's a promise. Hope you enjoyed the video, like I say. Subscribe if you're new, share this around to all your friends who like wrestling, and I'll see you next time.